Conventional livestock farming is a significant contributor to greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. Are there alternatives to provide protein for our growing world population? The United Nations has recognized that entomophagy, that's eating insects, could be a more sustainable alternative for the future of protein production. In the future, will you be eating bugs instead of hamburgers? Eating insects is nothing new. It has always been a part of our diet, and bugs are still eaten around the world, primarily in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And insects can be a highly energy-dense form of food. For example, a study of Alata ants and Rhinocophorus larvae eaten by the Tatuo-speaking Tucanoans living in the Amazon found that they can have an energy value of 425 to 661 calories per 100 grams of food. That's around a fourth of the calories a typical adult needs on a daily basis in just 3.5 ounces. It's not as easy as you'd think to determine the amount of greenhouse gases produced from animal farming. Greenhouse gas emissions from livestock farming occur when producing feed, storing manure, processing and transporting the meat, and enteric fermentation, the methane produced when ruminants digest things, basically cow farts. To make comparison across different species possible, scientists measure greenhouse gas emissions in terms of the CO2 equivalent per kilogram of protein. So, for example, to produce a kilogram of protein from chicken, you'd be producing 35 kilograms of CO2 equivalent emissions. Pork comes in at 55 and beef at a whopping 295. So where are insects on that scale? It's a bit harder to come up with a hard number for a few reasons. There's not a standard process for insect processing and transportation. Different insects have different greenhouse gas emissions, and there just isn't a whole lot of research available yet on the emissions from the full life cycle of producing, processing, and transporting insects used as food. We can make a few generalizations about insect farming in general. Insects are more efficient at turning their food into energy and animal protein that we can eat, partly because they are cold-blooded and don't have to spend energy on maintaining their body temperature. But for that same reason, insects farmed in colder climates need to be kept in a warmer environment. Heating that environment takes energy. But insects also need less land than conventional livestock. An example would be mealworms that require just 10% of the amount of land compared to beef production. We do have some comparisons that can be useful in showing how much lower insects are in greenhouse gas emissions than other animals, even if we still need more research. In a comparison of grams of CO2 equivalents per kilogram of mass gain, insects took a decided lead compared to beef and pork. Sun beetles came in at about, and I'm rounding to the nearest gram here, 122 grams, mealworms at 8 grams, cockroaches at 38 grams, crickets at 2 grams, locusts at 18 grams, and soldier flies at 17 grams. Compare that to cows that came in at a mind-boggling 2,850 grams, or pigs that average between 80 and 1,130 grams. So, while more research is needed, insects are looking like a strong contender. They are fighting an uphill battle, though. For starters, and most obvious, is that a lot of people in Western countries think that eating insects is gross, and in some cases, there are legal obstacles to overcome. Insects are often used as a snack or novelty food. They would probably only be a meaningful way of reducing greenhouse gas emissions if they were replacing conventional livestock in our diets instead of just adding to it. But let's say that you have decided to start replacing traditional meat with bugs. How would you go about doing that? How do you even go around cooking a bug? Crispy grasshoppers, called chapulines, can be used instead of bacon bits as a snack or topping. Mealworms can be turned into arancini, an Italian rice ball that some have reported tastes just like their non-insect equivalent. You can even grind up insects into a flour, like cricket flour, that is purported to have a nutty aroma and flavor. Are you interested in sustainable solutions for the future? Make sure to like the video and subscribe. And be sure to comment if you have eaten insects or think they could replace burgers as a food staple of the future.